So we're back with Nia's book, Bottom of the Pyramid, reviews chapter 7 through 9. If you haven't watched my last two videos of chapter 1 through 6, go ahead and catch up, then come back to this video. So we just gonna get straight into it. These like chapters kind of had me on like a roller coaster of emotions. Like I went from kind of like mad, like angry again, to like kind of sad. And we gonna like unpack everything. So we start with chapter 7. And she talks about the fight between, you know, Kelly and Abby fight, little slap or whatever. I wonder if it was more to that than like what I thought. But hold on, before we get into these chapters, right? So y'all remember in the last video, if y'all watched, or was it I don't know. Basically, when Nia was talking about like how they did 2 performances, one with the judges, one without the judges, and that was for the one that go on TV. So I'm confused because I was just rewatching the Stomp the Yard for season 5, and in there you can see like the judges. So I'm confused, like what y'all think about that? Anyways, I'm on my bed in the back, y'all. It's currently 11 o'clock at night. I'm just trying to get this video out for y'all. All right, back to what we talking about. So boom, Kelly and Abby get into the fight. She's recalling that. She's just like, okay, like how Holly, you saw how Holly got everybody up out of there, and she was just kind of talking about how Paige and Brooke were regarding like the emotions. Like Brooke was crying, and she mentions how Brooke never really cried, and then Paige kind of just stood there just with like a blank stare. So Abby, she said Abby had the power to get anybody kicked off despite the contract that they had. So Abby had a lot of say so, and we're learning that Abby had a lot of say so regarding this show, which kind of sucks because she was terrible. So then Nia talks about how she begins to distrust the moms because she starts to notice and see, because I'm believing she's speaking season 4 season 5 her, so she's a little bit older now, so she's able to see how the moms move and how they try to get their kids ahead, and they'll throw anybody under the bus if it means their kid gets ahead. So Nia, you know, she starts to explain how like friendships were at this time, and she was like, you know, everybody she would get close to, they were leaving, because at this time, you know, season 4 is when it really started, like people was really like, you know, trickling off. So she said she becomes like close with Nia, I mean not close with Chloe, because she was able to vent to Chloe, talk about like how Abby was treating them, because you know Chloe was kind of getting the bad end of the stick as well. And then Chloe left. So once Chloe left, she speaks about go back. So when Chloe left, Nia was saying how it hurt so much for her to just listen to like Abby badmouth Chloe while she wasn't there, and because that was her friend, she was like, Chloe's not here to you know, stick up for herself, but you know Abby's a coward. So I digress. Anyways, so then she talks about like post Chloe leaving, she's like Chloe had cut Nia out of her life, like she wasn't speaking to her, but like now that Nia has like gotten older, she had realized like Chloe needed to separate herself from Dance Moms in entirety in order to heal, and she, you know, doesn't take it personal anymore. And she actually said that she has now done it the same. Like now she has now done the same, kind of like separating herself from the girls, but if she sees them, then she sees them. It's no kind of like, it's no bad blood between them. So this is where like Jojo gets in, and I don't really like that. Like that's why I said I'm having like kind of mixed emotions, but we're gonna get to that. So Jojo comes in, and she's basically there to replace Chloe, and Jojo calls herself like the new and better blonde, and that the team was washed up, and she brings light to the team. But she was verbally like Jojo was verbally saying like, oh, I'm here to replace Chloe, like I'm the new and better blonde, and was just basically calling the team washed up. Cool. So Nia's just talking about how that kind of was making like a weird dynamic between everybody. Nobody was really liking her. Jojo got on everyone's nerves, and then she shook up the team's dynamic for the better or for worse. So then, you know, anybody who got on the show, like I say like season, because when the show really took off it's probably either season 4 or season 5. What I say is that anybody who got on that show was there strictly for clout, because, and you can tell by the way the moms acted, and I think Kira and Kalani definitely are one of the people who I feel like was on there for the clout as well. So due to that, Jojo and her mom would try their best to push Nia out of dances in order to get Jojo in the dances. So like her mom, like Jojo's mom would say like her mom wasn't, I mean, goodness gracious, I'm tripping on my words. Her mom would say things like Nia wasn't needed in the group dances, like pointing out how Nia was like kind of like the underdog and wasn't that well of a dancer, and Jojo was better than her. I really wasn't liking that. So during this time, if y'all recall, Nia, well, realistically, Nia's granddad had been, is it her great-granddad or her granddad? I think it was her granddad. So her granddad has been struggling with dementia, and he had been, you know, sick for a while, but I think this is when it starts to get worse. So everybody kind of knew about the fact that her granddad was in bad shape and that she was really close to her granddad. So she felt like they kind of played to that. Jojo and her mom kind of played to that. How Nia was like struggling mentally with everything, and kind of was trying to use that to ease their way into the group and become like permanent members, which I think was very sick and very nasty, because why are you coming after somebody who is quite literally in the process of like grieving somebody who's still there, but not there, like not the same person that they grew up and grew this bond with. So I really didn't like that, and I don't too much remember a lot about season 5, because when season 5 came out, I was a little bit older now. I'm kind of like in my teenage years. When the show first started, I was like 10 or something like that. Now I was 7, but I didn't start watching until I'm 10. So I'm in my teenage years, and I was kind of like pushed off about it, turned off about it. I didn't really like it. So I don't remember too much. I was watching it here and there with my auntie. So you know how like the girls had started singing and everything, and Abby wanted to be their manager. So Abby wanted to be Nia's manager, and Nia was like, no way at all, you're going to be my manager, because all this stuff you didn't, you know, said about me all these last few years. And then speaks about how Abby tries to sabotage an audition for her. So she says, you know, she goes into an audition. She does her thing. And the director's like, he had no notes. Like, I like this. I like your look. I like the way you did this. And Abby takes it upon herself to say like, oh, she took the character into a different situation. I mean, different direction. And she just mentions how Nia mentions how the director had just looked uncomfortable. And I just felt like that was very nasty as well of Abby. You know, what's this number 1 million of bad things Abby did. And so yeah, I just felt like that was weird, because like you saying that you are prepping these girls for stardom, but yet every time she's trying to do something, you're not allowing her to, just because she's not your favorite dancer. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really like that. And you know, she deserves all the lashings from me. So then she says Abby takes kids to meet, like it takes the girls to meet the music producers, and at first Nia didn't want her go. So I'm thinking this is where like the shift occurs. And I will say, what I do remember from the like older seasons is that Nia really did seem very disconnected from the show, and she'll start to explain this more, but she did seem very like, I'm not gonna say like kind of like dead inside. And it makes sense reading her book that you can visually see that how she looked on the outside is how exactly she felt on the inside. And that was also why I didn't really want to watch the show no more, because it's not just her, but all of the girls seemed like they was kind of just like dead inside. The only people who were really bringing energy was the newcomers, because they were so full of energy. They didn't really have to deal with this all these years. They looking like, oh, this is my big break. So yeah, so you know, Nia's like, it wasn't really no point, because she's not my manager, so it's no point of me like going, you know, to this thing with her. So then Melissa and begged Holly to go, so Nia just went to keep the peace. So Nia had like this pop beat, and she said, because it just sounded like something Beyonce would sing over. And I was just like, hold on, Nia, I didn't know you was a Beehive girl. Like, is this like probably her 3rd or 4th time into the Beyonce? I'm like, I didn't know you was a Beehive girl. Like, come on. Okay, another reason I added why I love you. So then she says, yeah, she finds this pop beat, and Kendall ends up getting it. She's like, all right, you know, there's more beats to come. So then she talks about how a gospel hymn comes on, and Abby was like, yeah, this is for Nia. So she tells Nia like, oh yeah, like I want you to do gospel. And Nia's kind of like, yeah, while I love gospel music and I'm a Christian, like, no, I don't want to do no gospel. And I like, regardless of what anybody says, bro, at the end of the day, regardless of what anybody says about Nia and Holly for staying on that show, one thing I will give to them is that they wasn't finna, like, push aside their morals or push aside things they want for Abby. Now, I will say, Abby was getting off with them about them solos. I'll give them that. I'll give Abby that. She was getting off on them. But anything else, no. So I like that about her. She had said, like, you know, you ain't my manager anyway. I don't gotta do no gospel hymn. She took that on the, you know, and brushed that off. So y'all, this is when I started to get a little mad now. This is when I started getting mad. Alright, so she works with Aubrey O'Day. I'm pretty sure that's the woman, like, I'll rise up. I mean, I don't know, you know, I think she's a part of a group, because Nia did mention that she was a part of a group. That's the only song I know from her, though. I'm sorry. Anyways, so she starts working with Aubrey O'Day because Aubrey O'Day comes in and was like, who's the best singer? And surprisingly, Abby says Nia. Not surprisingly, like, that Nia's a, you know, great singer, but surprisingly that came out of Abby's mouth. So, you know, Aubrey O'Day picks her, they start working together. So Nia's so happy, like, she has a new opportunity, and then, like, she has a new opportunity, like, outside of dance, and she has a good storyline about music. So now it's not just focused on her being a weak link, and like, the person who's getting all of Abby's lashing is towards something positive. Oh my gosh, y'all. So then she said one day at Pyramid, you know, Abby's going on her rant per usual, like, she's mad, you know, fussing with the moms, cool. So then, like, she said they're, like, stretching or something, and Abby's just blah 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 blah. Oh, it's just so, I just hate being around people that just nag all the time. So yeah, that's how Abby is. She nagging, and she, you know, I guess everybody's just, like, kind of, like, brushing it off, ignoring her. And that's why Abby points out to Nia, she says something. What did she say to Nia? Oh, no. She said something to Nia. I can't recall exactly what she said, but Nia says she doesn't really respond to it. Cool. Abby ends up picking up her phone. Ring. Nia said, I'm not thinking nothing of it. Like, cool, she calling somebody. She said until she heard the voice, and she said that voice sounded familiar. And y'all guess who it was? Aubrey freaking O'Day. So Abby says on the phone, like, oh, Holly wasn't supposed to contact you, and I'm her manager. So then she proceeds, stay with me now, she proceeds to offer this lady $10,000 to not work with Nia. How evil do you have to be to even do something like that? You know what I'm saying? So Nia describes how it makes her feel. It's like, she says, like, she usually didn't like to cry because of how the cameras will follow you, and she often mentions how it was like double standards. A lot of the other girls can cry, but she couldn't. Cool. So she says she, like, breaks down, like, it's really a bad moment for her, right? So she said the show edits out the part about the bribing and Nia running out crying. So yeah, undoubtedly so. She also mentioned, she was like, you know, of course they edited it out, because if people would have seen Abby trying to bribe Aubrey, you know, it would have been some heat. So them producers be knowing what they doing. And I feel like we constantly ask ourselves, like, why did Abby get away with so much? It was because, like, part of it, you know, because I don't know, actually, part of it I don't know, but the other part I feel like is Abby is truly unproblematic. Hold on, unproblematic, scratch that, I said that totally wrong. Abby is truly problematic, and she would have caused a lot of hot water to that show if they added a lot of her actions in there. That show would have not made it to a season 3 if they really painted out Abby to be the bad person she was. So Nia starts to talk about how, like, nobody cared about her feelings, and, like, she, you know, how we will see, like, a lot of times anytime the girls would cry, like, the moms would come and the girls would come and, like, you know, comfort them and all that. She said they didn't do that, none of that for her. And so the moms was basically saying, like, they brought that upon themselves, and they should have just took Abby's offer and been the manager. And that was their problem. They always felt like they had to follow Abby everywhere they go. They thought Abby was just the best thing in town, but really it is people way better than Abby, and that can get you further without having to mentally, emotionally and verbally abuse you. So I'm thinking in my head while I'm reading this, I'm thinking in my head like, okay, did Aubrey take that offer? Like, cause now I'm finna look at you funny. But she didn't take the offer. So that's when she gets a call. Her mom gets a call from Aubrey. And basically, she just expresses how nasty she felt like what Abby did was. And that actually wanted her to work with her more. To work with Nia more. So, Nia's just really happy about this. And she puts, like, Aubrey, like, exposes her to the music industry. She puts her on with people who was working with Beyonce and Solange. And she works with a songwriter. So, Nia ends up working with a songwriter. And she says, like, she wants a hype song for people, like, that's going through stuff. Because, you know, she's also going through stuff. And she wants to be, like, have a song that's empowering. Which I really like that about her. And I just think she's just such a, like, kind soul. And so that's when she makes Starring Your Own Life. And I can't remember how Starring Your Own Life goes, but I do remember the song that I'm about to bring up. I had to listen to Starring Your Own Life again. So she says song has a lot of success. Starring Your Life has a lot of success. And she ends up getting a remix to the song. And she just speaks about how this process made her feel so special, because like while she's in the song, like while she's in the studio doing the songwriting, they're asking for her input. And you know, these are very different environments for her. They're not putting her down, they're actually uplifting her. They're like, okay, what do you think? And then she's contributing her ideas, and they're like, okay, like I like that, write that down, you know what I'm saying, instead of just putting her down. So I like that she was able to start being in spaces where people were appreciating her and making her feel seen. Because then it shows her like, okay, these people at your dance studio, they tripping. You know, everybody else love you, but these folks back there, they tripping. Cool. So she starts talking about how Slay, that's the song that I said I remember. So she said that was her most popular song. It was used in like it was like a Disney episode. It was used on commercials. It was used on View. It was used on many places. I do remember that. So you know, and I was glad that she had a song pop off, because it's like, yeah. Because she's that girl at the end of the day. No matter how bad y'all try to paint her, she is that girl at the end of the day. So then she says she ends up being able to write a song with Coco Jones. Not really sure what song that was. So then she speaks about this person named Mikey. So the two people that were very influential to her was Mikey and Aubrey O'Day. So Mikey had her in like a beautiful wardrobe, and like when she was shooting like music videos and going out. And this is how she began believing she looked good, because she was like, people were telling her like, you look good, but she was like, she never really believed it. But now she's able to see herself in these beautiful clothes, and she's able to express herself more, and now she feels like she's starting to find her self-worth. And this is music was an outlet for her to find new ways to express herself and not just dance. All right, so we open up to chapter 8, and unfortunately, her grandfather is now, you know, in hospice care due to his dementia. And she just explains how I'm finna tear up, y'all. Let me tell. This is very sad reading this, because although I haven't experienced that, I can understand like the bond that you can have with a grandparent. Oh my God, y'all. I can't believe I'm over here like tearing up again. Y'all got me crying on camera. She talks about how she tries to you can kind of feel like the anxiety through it, of how like she has a busy schedule, but she's really trying to make it so she can be able to see him before he passes, because you know she realizes he doesn't have much time left. So unfortunately, he passed away, and she didn't get to say goodbye. And that was just like just a stab to my heart. I was like, no, she didn't get to say goodbye. Like that really hurts, because she really expresses how close they were, how he used to go to the dance studio all the time. He loved her like being on the show. He just thought it was so cool. And I'm glad he was able to still see the coolness out of it, even though like the way they was just like putting his grandchild down and stuff like that. I was like, he was still able to see the good in it, because that was his grandbaby on TV. So what I did like, and what I do remember, and I remember even tearing up to this episode, but the producers dedicated like an episode to him because, you know, he was kind of important. Not kind of, he was very important to the ALDC. We ain't gonna say to the show because we really didn't see much of him, but I did like that they did that. So now we go into Abby. Hold on, I told y'all, this book took me on a emotional roller coaster. Y'all can see that. So Abby finally opens her ALDC LA studio, and due to this, is like, I feel like Nia was definitely pushed more into the back once season 5 kind of hit, because, you know, Abby had got a lot of stardom to her head, and she was just pushing her. She felt like she can do anything she wanted to do. So she said she had fewer solos, but that was okay. That was more time for herself. And Nia and Holly was like, listen, we ain't playing these games no more with these people. We're not waiting on Abby to give us opportunities or opportunities to fall in our lap. We're not coming to LA to just dance. We're coming to LA to put ourselves on. So that's when she starts pursuing things like acting and music, and she's no longer participating in ALDC events. If y'all remember, these are like, I guess this is like when it's like a surplus of meet and greets. They were doing a lot of appearances. Like the girls were doing a lot of appearances, and Nia wasn't there. I remember this like in full time, like in real time, because now I'm on social media at this point. Real time, this is being a discourse of why Nia isn't here and stuff. So she's not being invited to these events. So she was like, well, I'm fed up anyway. I don't really care. Like, I see this as a way to protect my peace, because she said she would get the least amount of autographs and she would barely receive gifts from people whenever she went to these meet and greets. So Abby made the girls wear ALDC merch everywhere, and Nia said, well, since I was invited to these, I'm not finna wear it. She get my 10s for that one. She get my 10s for that, because Nia said, you know what, I'm fed up with all of y'all. I'm not wearing none of that. I'm not wearing none of that. And she said she stood on that. She said she would come into dance and she would show up in regular clothes and not the ALDC stuff that Abby wanted them to show up in. And Abby would always be like, wouldn't it be better if everyone just looked presentable? But Nia just said, at this point, nothing can really hurt me now, because you done say everything you need to say. You know, last video she mentions how she called her Tootie. Also mentions how she put her hands on her. Like, she basically saying it's nothing you can do to hurt me at this point. Like, I'm numb to it. So then she talks about how, we remember it was like a real big discourse around how beating Maddie was just like, you know, a lot of people's goal when coming in. And so she mentions how Abby would never let that happen at all. And she talks about how she almost beat Maddie by 1/10 of a point, and Abby like almost like really just never gave her a solo again after that. So she was saying how she was really frustrated how new people would come in and then they would get the solos and stuff like that. And, you know, people online, she said people online was giving her hate and was saying that she was very entitled. But I feel like she was entitled to her emotions, and I felt like those emotions were valid, because I have been here since the beginning, and not even just the beginning of the show, but way before then, and I'm barely getting any solos, but you're letting all these new people get solos and rank up above me. So she just you know, kind of just discusses that and talks about how she was just really frustrated with how people would feel like she was entitled. But she was like, no, like, this is, I got this spot, and other people are coming in and they're just like able to get everything that I'm not, you know, having, and I put in the work for it. So then moms would tell Holly that Nia was bad and could outdance Nia. And like, somebody had commented on my last video and was talking about, like, with knowing how nasty they were to Holly, the moms, she was like, you know, she don't even understand why she kicked it with Melissa and Jill, like, after the fact, you know, after the show ends. And now that I like read that, I'm like, yeah, I don't know why either, because I would have paid them dust. Because why are you telling me that my kid can outdance you? Why is it a competition in the first place? Like, yeah, we do this, it's for funsies, but at the end of the day, y'all are really taking it personal outside of it. So then they would just do it. Oh yeah, so it would be a lot of the new moms too that was saying that, and they would do it for airtime, because like more drama equaled airtime, and you know, a lot of them for clout. So she starts to question why she was even doing this in the first place. Like, is it even worth it? and talks about how she has this video premiere party and her team didn't even come to support, but her rival Kathy did, and her candy apples, which is crazy and that's embarrassing, right? So she said the girls were like trash talk about her music and music videos and were shocked that she had gay people in the video. And I'm just like, come on, girls. We're like, how old are we at this point? How old are we? Y'all done saw, Abby done brought in so many drag queens. Like, why is this a discussion? Moms would like comment about how she was dressing too like mature for her age, how Nia was dressing, and like when it comes to like the music videos and everything. And Nia was just like, but y'all was okay with 9-year-olds wearing skimpy costumes, and Maddie was literally just in Sia's video in a nude leotard, and y'all let that slide. Okay, so she said, I see the double standard here, but instead of proving myself, I'm finna ignore y'all. And she said she would show up, and she said she's like, dance moms was a job. Going to dance was a job. She said she would show up to the ALDC, do what she had to do, and leave. So she said, baby, I'm just here from check. I'm just here because they said I gotta be here. So then Abby's annoyed about Nia doing her own thing, so she would take Nia out of a lot of the dances. So music becomes Nia's happiness, because dance became miserable. So then the girls go to the Astro Awards for girls go to Australia for the Astro Awards, and Abby announces the ALDC tour, you know, while they're in Australia, and it's everybody except for Jojo and Jojo and Nia. Goodness gracious. So Nia and Holly decided not to renew their ALDC contract, and due to that, so like I think I said in the last video, it's a difference between the ALDC contract and the dance moms. So they obviously had to keep their dance moms. But yeah, so she's at this point, I think she's just not at the ALDC no more. She's just on the show. So Abby and the moms were mad because she doesn't renew her ALDC contract, and due to that, they were excluded from ALDC events. And that's just weird because, like, cool, Abby be mad, whatever, boo. But the moms just acted like a cult. Like, Abby had a real life cult going on, and that is just insane to me. And they followed everything this lady said to do. So anyways, Abby would try to prove, like, she wanted to show them, like, all right, you think you can do this without me? I'm gonna show you how easy it is to blackball you. And then that's when she was like, you know what, overall it was a blessing in disguise, because these master classes that you was doing ended up being the reason you was in jail, baby. And I'm glad that had my name nowhere near that. Okay, yeah. So she said she's just thankful that she wasn't invited, because that's just not something that she wanted to be involved with. So she's still a part of the team on Dance Moms, but she wasn't doing anything else to show, like meet and greets, master classes, etc. So Nia and Jojo and their moms become closer, and I'm like, I don't know how I really feel about that, but I'm not the person in the situation to be like, oh, Nia, you shouldn't apologize. I mean, not apologize, you shouldn't have forgave them. I just felt like they had came in and they was, you know, picking at her at a vulnerable time, and now all of a sudden, like, Jojo really thought she was hot stuff, and then she realized that she wasn't that good of a dancer, and Abby pushed her to the curb, and now she wanna, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? It kind of just felt weird to me. Like, now you want to be my friend, but had you been Abby's favorite, you wouldn't have been my friend. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really mess with that. So Nia gets the opportunity to perform a single while she was in Australia, and she was saying that was like her favorite moment from the show. She said, like, she announced it like 2 days prior, and she was shocked that like more than 100,000 people came to watch her. And I just really like that she experienced all these people coming out to see her, coming out and showing her all this love with everything she known has been going on throughout this show and how she's been portrayed. And she's like, people still love me regardless of the fact I'm not getting as many autographs at these meet and greets, you know. So I like that. So Nia said, you know, since Jojo wasn't invited to the ALDC stuff, she invited her to be a part of it too. And I just felt like Nia is still like a very kind human being, because these people were very rude to her, and she was still giving them like second chances. So Jojo does a dance break during her performance. So Melissa and Jill came, but obviously they didn't stay long. I really just think that was just to save face and have nobody question them. Anyway, so felt like this was like a turning point for her stepping into her new era, and she realized, like, I don't need Abby to succeed. So we just move on to the last chapter, chapter 9, and she says, like, she clears up, like, all right, I want to let y'all know, like, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm not trying to cause anybody hate. I'm just telling my story. And she was like, OG girls, like, they would never air out dirty laundry on social media or talk bad about each other. And OG girls are like are very down to earth, most down to earth, nice people that she knows. And that's really funny that I know Kendall's not an OG, but I love how she just doesn't bring up Kendall when it comes to these OGs. Like, she doesn't say Kendall's name at all so far, but you know, we're gonna keep reading. So she says she puts the blame on Abby and mainly the mothers, because like they were just kids at the time and like they didn't really know no better. And she said, you know, she said some bad stuff when she was younger too. And like now she's looking back at it like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Basically like trying to just give the girls grace. Like, I understand why they acted the way they did. So she just talks about like their good times, like how she used to go to Maddie and Mackenzie's house, like even before the show started, jump on a trampoline, how all the girls went to like a Justin Bieber concert together because they were huge fans, and then they later met him at a Teen Choice Awards. And then she talks about like how she loved dogs and she would read books about them, like really like study on them, and she would go to the pet shop to play with the dogs, but she would cry hysterically when leaving, so her parents stopped taking her. And then so they take her back because she begs them to take her back, and she names a dog Henry even though it wasn't hers. So then like it's her birthday and they were like, hey, like she's like, hey, before my party, but can we go see Henry? And Holly's like, oh, Henry's been sold, da, da, da. And then Paige walks up to her with a bag. She's like, you have to open this immediately. And it's she opens it and it was Henry the dog. And I was just like, I thought that was so cute. And all the girls pitched in to get her that dog, and talked about like, she also talked about how they would like make videos on Video Star, and do like ugly dance competitions and stuff. Like it was interesting. So like I said, like emotional roller coaster for sure, because now like when I'm listening to this, I'm like also visualizing and remembering like the times I was watching the earlier seasons and how close the girls actually were, and the fun times they did have, like when Abby took them out to like the beach and like to get ice cream and stuff like that. Like those are the moments that I wish they showed more of, because once it started getting too much like drama, it was just, you know, bad. It was kind of like an elitism type of deal in the ALDC. That's when they like went downhill. I know the producers thought more drama, more people, but people who was watching the show was watching it for the love of the, you know, the dance. We like the drama every now and then, but it just got too much. But yeah, basically she would just talk about their good times they had, but at the ALDC it would always just be different. It was a different environment. Now you got Abby in front of you, and now we got this elite goddamn elitism placed, and you know, it's about who's better at this point. So she says she doesn't think the girls were racist, but they just naturally gravitated towards each other because of a shared identity. And while yes, I do understand that we are gonna gravitate towards people who more so look like us, I just don't think I think she's giving them a lot of grace in this book, and she's also trying to prevent them from getting a lot of hate, because I don't think that's the reason why you do that to certain people. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially like me, I know people who didn't look like me, you know, I still would invite them. I still would hang out with them. You know what I'm saying? It's just like certain stuff you probably not gonna talk about. Like, I'm not finna go to my white friends and talk about like, what should I put in my hair? You know what I'm saying? It's just like certain stuff you're not finna talk to them about. But you know, it's not me, so I'm not gonna, you know, speak on that too much. You know, whatever. So she says Abby's narrative of bad, like her being a bad dancer, kind of just tainted their interactions, and she starts to feel like a backup friend. She talks about how she wasn't a first choice for anything, and the only person who made her first choice was Kenzie, and I thought that was very sweet. She felt like since they weren't the same race, they didn't understand her. She speaks about like going to the pool. She would say like, oh, I can go, but I just can't get my hair wet. And she was like, she felt like a lot of the time the girls didn't really understand that, which now I can understand her saying that, but I just think at the end of the day, the girls were just rude. The girls saw you as a bad dancer because that's what Abby made y'all out to be. So Abby would also say if she was a better dancer, they would want to be friends with her. Like, okay. So then she says she has like trouble making cliques because of friends. I mean, she has trouble making friends because of cliques and like people just coming in and out the door, which I had mentioned earlier. And she said although like the social isolation hurt, she later on was able to love herself and realize like if y'all didn't invite me, then it was y'all lost. Like, cool. But she talks about how she still holds like a relationship with them to this day. Maddie did her makeup for prom. Chloe and her go out to eat sometimes. Chloe like paid for them to come to like a hotel for her party, her birthday. She sees Brooke and Paige when she goes to Pittsburgh. She ran into Brooke and Paige after Brooke got proposed to. And yeah, like I said, I just love throughout the book how she doesn't mention Kendall. Because, yes, she does not need to be mentioned. She is definitely terrible. Just like her mother, for sure. So yeah, I feel like this chapter was really just to show the readers that she's not faulting the girls at all, and they are still good people despite her like experiences at ALDC. I'm glad she's able to still have like a good mindset towards everything and not looking at everything from like a hatred standpoint. And that just shows how much she has healed. She's not looking at these people like, I hate you. You know what? I understand why y'all did this, and that's cool. I'm just not gonna be around y'all a lot. So that was the end of our recap. I'm gonna come back Wednesday. We're gonna come back Wednesday with a recap for chapters 10 through 12. Yeah, 10 through 12. So let me know in the comments what y'all thinking below. And we almost near the end of the book, guys. Almost near the end. But alright, I'll see y'all in the next video.